This is Richard Hosnote, and I want to welcome you to the Innovation Best Practices episodes, where in every episode I attempt to help you sell more and make more from your innovation program using only proven and practical best practices that I believe can work to help virtually any business with any innovation need. I want to give a special welcome to listeners around the world in 91 countries and growing all the time. Thank you very much and welcome. You can view these episodes on YouTube as a VideoCast. All you need to do is go to YouTube in the search bar, put Richard Innovation Best Practices, will be 5th or 6th or whatever in the search results. Click on it and you'll see all the available episodes. The VideoCast have the same audio track as the podcast. They're supplemented as a PowerPoint slide presentation, and especially on episodes like this that have a lot of direct quotes from Gary Hamel. It's a way of seeing those direct quotes on a PowerPoint slide, if that helps. As I said, you can also see it as a podcast. Go to my website, i2ge, that's the letter I, the number 2, ge.com/podcast, or go to iTunes. I would really, really appreciate it if you could recommend these episodes to a friend or 2 or 3 or more. Thank you. And please visit the i2ge.com website. There's many, many free resources there for you. Check them out. If you want to contact me, just send me an email to richard@i2ge.com. Love to hear from listeners. This is part 2 of a unusual three-part series on Gary Hamel's best-selling book, What Matters Now. Absolutely great book to understand the bigger picture in which innovation happens and the overall importance of innovation. The full title of the book will give you a sense of what it's all about. What Matters Now? How to Win in a World of Relentless Change, Ferocious Competition, and Unstoppable Innovation. This is a book you want to read. I'm going to give you a lot of quotes here, but it's a small fraction of the value you can get if you buy this book. Okay? So, let's dive right in. Throughout all of this, I'm going to be using direct quotes from the book because he says it a lot better than I could summarize in bullet points. First, he talks about the lack of trust and how it creates a toxic environment. He says, "We need a values revolution in business, and it can't come soon enough." In a 2010 Gallup study, only 15% of respondents rated the ethical standards of executives as high or very high. 15%! Nurses came in at 81%. Corporate lobbyists at 7%. Politicians and lawyers, not so sure. This lack of trust poses an existential threat to capitalism. It sure does. On capitalism, he says, capitalism is animated by self-interest, but when it's not tamed by moral self-discipline, it can easily become mendacious. When that happens, the powerless get abused and the ignorant get duped. Legislators get bought and safeguards get trampled. Amen. The invisible hand of the market is a wonderful thing, but when not guided by a deep sense of moral duty, it can wreak all sorts of havoc. It's everywhere. It's easy to see. He hits the nail on the head. Couldn't agree more. Here he says something about companies. Why is it that in a 2010 Gallup survey that only 19% of Americans told pollsters that they had quite a lot or a great deal of confidence in big business? Only Congress scored worse. It seems that a majority of us expect big companies to behave badly, to ravish the environment, mistreat employees, and mislead customers. As ethical truants, big business seems to rank alongside Charlie Sheen and Lindsay Lohan. Woo! There's a hit. And they're just about right. Hamel on Noble Purpose. You may remember I've written on this and believe strongly in guiding things by noble purpose. In fact, I have a whole episode on noble purpose. He says, a noble purpose inspires sacrifice, stimulates innovation, boy does it ever, and encourages perseverance. In so doing, it transforms great talent into exceptional accomplishment. That's a fact, and it leaves me wondering, why are the words like love, devotion, and honor so seldom heard within the halls of corporatedom? Yeah, why aren't they? I'll add to it compassion, empathy. More Hamel talking on innovation. In recent years, left brain types, the logical types, have had the upper hand while starry-eyed innovators have struggled to get a hearing. Nevertheless, before innovation slips any further down the list of corporate priorities, we need to remind ourselves that we owe everything to innovation. Now you know why I like this book so much. More on innovation. We owe our prosperity to innovation. Most of us do more than subsist. From the vantage point of our ancestors, we live lives that are almost unimaginably ease. Here again, we have innovation to thank. 1,000 years of social innovation gave millions of us the right to self-determination. We are no longer vassals and conscripts. We live in a democratic societies where we are free to think and do as we wish. Essential prerequisites for innovation. Whew. Again, you can see why I'm using his exact quotes, because he has a great talent for language here. More on innovation. Repeated bouts of institutional innovation, including the invention of capital markets, company law, and patent protection, paved the way for economic progress by facilitating trade, capital formation, and entrepreneurship. And 100+ years of frenzied technological innovation blessed us with personal mobility, instant communication, an arsenal of disease-fighting drugs, unprecedented computational power, and TiVo. I'm not sure I would have put TiVo so high up on the list. As technologies multiplied, income soared. Between the year 1000 and 1820, global per capita income rose by a scant 50%. Over the next 12 decades, it grew by 800%. Put simply, innovation rescued humanity from privation. Go innovation. He says a bit more on innovation. We owe our happiness to innovation. Humans are the only beings who create for the sheer pleasure of doing so. Whether it's laying out a garden, plinking out a new tune on a piano, writing a bit of poetry, manipulating a digital photo, redecorating a room, or inventing a new chili recipe, we are the happiest when we are creating. Yes, we innovate to solve problems, to make money, and to get ahead. But for most of us, innovation is an end, not a means. We don't need a practical justification to innovate. We create because we were born to. We have no choice. Hamel also says some things about design thinking. And as some of you may know, another company that I own besides Innovate to Grow Experts, i2g.com, is Blue Sage Creative, a graphic design company, very successful. So I'm very much into design thinking too. So here's what they say. So what is design thinking? In a conversation, Tim outlined it in 3 core elements: observation, experimentation, and prototyping. You have to start with observation because it's the only way to illuminate the subtle nuances about how people actually get things done or don't get things done. And it's these deep insights that lead to powerful new ideas. Pay attention. That's great advice. More on design thinking and innovation. Great design is less about genius than empathy. Empathy is understanding the conditions, needs, limitations, feelings, thoughts, and everything of people that are using something or thinking about doing something. And it's often the tiniest things that make the biggest differences to consumers. Right on. To be an innovator, you have to challenge the beliefs that everyone else takes for granted. Yeah, in fact, in the episodes just immediately prior to this about the Bain brand accelerator, there's a couple of good examples of beliefs that everyone else took for granted that when Bain took a look at them and challenged them, developed entirely new insights that turned around declining or flat businesses into growing businesses. Just a very recent example in these Innovation Best Practices episodes. The long-held assumptions that blind industry incumbents to new ways of doing business. Assumptions and insights that may be decades old that absolutely blind people to new possibilities. So here's some concluding thoughts before we get into the next episode from part 3 on this. He's addressing some of the bigger business picture issues and conditions in which innovation exists. And while innovation best practices are important to innovation success, overall business best practices also need to exist for an enterprise to succeed, both with their core business and the innovation program. And that's exactly what Hamel is addressing here. And I'm giving you just a snapshot here and there of all the insights that are in his book. Many of them are innovation focused, but this is powerful stuff. He's hitting a lot of nails squarely on the head. So if you want more innovation best practices, you just need to go to my website, i2ge.com, letter I, number 2, ge.com. On the menu bar on the left, you'll see the DIY innovation training. Click on it. A whole bunch of training programs pop up. If there isn't one there that meets your exact needs, send me an email. Glad to tailor one to your needs. Here's what I'm trying to do with this. I'm trying to make you innovation self-sufficient with this. What's that mean? Well, so you can do it yourself and you don't have to pay expensive consultants like me and others to do it for you. Another innovation best practices comes from one of the 6 books that I've published. It's titled Proven Practical Innovation That Delivers Results. It's available only at Amazon in a paperback and Kindle version. It's priced below my break-even cost, so it's a heck of a value. If you've got suggestions, comments, or requests, just send me an email to richard@i2ge.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Next episode, surprise, surprise, is part 3 of the Gary Hamel What Matters Now series. Again, we're going to be taking a look at some very provocative and insightful statements by Gary that I think are absolutely spot on and that we should all pay attention to. Again, this is a book that I'm covering in only the briefest form in these 3 episodes, and it's one that I strongly recommend you get and read for yourself. It should be one of those books in your library. As all of you know, I deeply appreciate you taking time out of a busy day to spend it with me. I look forward to reconnecting with you soon, and until then, please have a great day.